I was standing in the bathroom mirror, fixing my earrings, when the call came through. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Friday. I remember because I had just told myself I looked fine. Normal. Like a daughter who was ready to sit at her mother's table and pretend everything was okay. My phone lit up on the counter. It was Grace Whitfield, my financial advisor, the woman who had managed my father's accounts long before the cancer took him. Grace never called on Fridays. She never called past 5. I picked up. "Olivia, do not go to that house tonight. Whatever you do, stay where you are and lock your door." Her voice was the kind of calm that only comes from someone suppressing absolute terror. Before I could respond, a text popped in from my mother. "Just checking, sweetheart. Dinner's at 7. Roger made your favorite. Bring that appetite." Smiley face emoji, heart emoji, the works. I stared at both messages, side by side on my screen. One from the woman who had never lied to me. One from the woman who had done nothing but. I sat on the edge of the bathtub and called Grace back. "Before I tell you what she said, and before I tell you what I did about it, let me ask you something. Have you ever been so used to being manipulated that you actually felt grateful for it? Like the person destroying you had convinced you they were the only thing holding you together?" Drop a comment. Because that was my life for 4 years. And tonight was the night it almost ended. Permanently. Grace didn't ease into it. She laid it out like a closing argument. "Olivia, your stepfather Roger has been in contact with a Dr. Ellison at Pinehurst Behavioral Health. I got a copy of an intake form dated 3 days ago. Your name is on it. Diagnosis: severe bipolar disorder with psychotic features. Voluntary admission, except it's not voluntary. Your mother signed the consent as your emergency medical proxy. The plan is to have you committed tonight, during dinner. They've arranged for a transport service to be on standby at the property. If you walk through that front door, they will claim you had a breakdown at the table. The doctor will sedate you. You'll be in a locked ward before midnight. And once you're in, you don't come out until they say so. Your 28th birthday is Tuesday. That's when your father's estate, the house, the business, the trust, all of it transfers to your sole control. If you're declared mentally incapacitated before then, the conservatorship your mother filed for last month goes through unopposed. She keeps everything. Roger keeps everything. You get a hospital bed and a Dixie cup full of pills." I didn't speak for a long time. Grace waited. She knew me well enough to know I wasn't falling apart. I was reassembling. "How did you find out?" I finally asked. "Dr. Ellison's office manager is a former client of mine. She recognized your name on the paperwork and called me this morning. I've spent the last 9 hours verifying everything. Olivia, I have the intake forms, the transport contract, and an email chain between Roger and Ellison discussing dosage. This is not speculation. This is a conspiracy." I closed my eyes and pressed my palm flat against the cold tile wall. And just like that, 4 years of fog burned away in a single breath. It started 6 months after my father died. I was 23. He left everything to me. Not to my mother, not to Roger, her second husband of barely 2 years. To me. The house in Savannah, the commercial properties downtown, the investment portfolio, the life insurance, all of it held in a trust that would transfer to my full control on my 28th birthday. Until then, my mother served as trustee. My father had trusted her. He shouldn't have. The first year, it was small things. My debit card would get declined at the grocery store. When I called the bank, the daily limit had been changed. My mother would sigh and say she had adjusted it because she noticed some concerning spending patterns. I thought she was being protective. Then the prescriptions started. She told me my father's doctor recommended I start anti-anxiety medication because of the stress of losing him. I never saw the doctor. She picked up the pills. I took them because she handed them to me every morning with coffee and that look. That practiced, porcelain expression of maternal worry that I now know she rehearsed in the mirror. The pills made me foggy, slow. I started missing deadlines at work, forgetting conversations. I once drove to the wrong address for a meeting I had confirmed that morning because the calendar entry on my phone had been changed. I sat in a parking lot for 20 minutes, crying, calling my mother, who answered with that voice, "Oh, honey, it's happening again, isn't it? Maybe we should talk to Dr. Ellison about adjusting your dose." I didn't know who Dr. Ellison was at the time. I thought he was just another doctor. Another expert my mother had carefully selected to help me. I didn't know he was Roger's college roommate. I didn't know Roger was paying him in cash. I didn't know the pills my mother gave me every morning weren't anti-anxiety medication at all. They were low-dose sedatives, mixed with a mood destabilizer that mimicked the symptoms of exactly the disorder they were planning to diagnose me with. I believed I was falling apart. I believed my grief had broken something in my brain. I believed my mother when she sat on the edge of my bed at midnight, stroking my hair, whispering, "I'm so worried about you, baby. You're just like your aunt was before they had to put her away. You need me. You need us. Don't push us away." I didn't push. I clung. I thanked her. I apologized for being a burden. I let her drive me to appointments where a corrupt doctor nodded gravely and scribbled notes that would later be used to bury me. I was not sick. I was being poisoned, slowly, methodically, by the two people who kissed me goodnight. But they made a mistake. They got greedy. 3 months ago, Roger started pressuring me to sign a durable power of attorney that would give my mother full legal authority over my medical and financial decisions. He said it was just a formality. Protection. In case something happened to me, I almost signed it. The pen was in my hand. But some stubborn ember of my father's voice in the back of my skull, made me hesitate. I called Grace Whitfield instead. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 years because my mother had told me Grace retired and moved to Florida. She hadn't. She was still in Savannah, 30 minutes from my apartment. My mother had simply deleted her contact from my phone and intercepted a birthday card Grace had sent me. Grace took one look at my medical records and the trust documents and said 5 words that changed my life. "Olivia, you are being robbed." She connected me with an independent psychiatrist. I went in secret. The evaluation took 3 hours. The result: no bipolar disorder, no psychotic features, no clinical anxiety beyond what you'd expect from someone who had been systematically drugged and gaslit for 4 years. The doctor noted signs of chronic low-grade sedative exposure and recommended an immediate toxicology screening. I stopped taking my mother's pills the next day. I told her I was still taking them. Every morning, I'd palm the capsule, smile, and flush it when she wasn't looking. Within 2 weeks, the fog lifted completely. I could think again. I could remember. I could see. And what I saw made me sick. Now, standing in my bathroom with Grace's warning ringing in my ears, I had a choice. I could hide, board my windows, and wait for Tuesday. Let the lawyers handle it from a safe distance. But I knew my mother. If I didn't show up tonight, she would come to me. She'd show up at my apartment with Roger and the doctor and the transport team. She'd make a scene. She'd call the police and claim I was barricaded inside having an episode. She had 4 years of fabricated medical records to back her up. No. Hiding would only delay the inevitable. I needed to end it. Tonight, on my terms. "Grace," I said, "I'm going to dinner." "Absolutely not." "Olivia, listen to me." "No, you listen. I need you to do 3 things. First, call Detective Morrison at Chatham County. Tell him everything. Show him the documents. Ask him to be parked on Abercorn Street by 7:30. Second, email me every piece of evidence you have. Every form, every email, every receipt. Third, don't call me again tonight. If my mother checks my phone, she can't see your name." Grace was quiet for 5 seconds. Then she said, "Your father would be proud of you." I hung up and dialed the only other person in that house I trusted. My stepsister Nora answered on the second ring. She was 17, Roger's daughter from his first marriage. A quiet girl who had learned to survive in that house by becoming invisible. But invisible people see everything. "Livy," she whispered. "Something is wrong. There's a van parked behind the garage. I saw 2 men carrying a bag inside. Mom told me to stay in my room, but I looked through the window. They have equipment. Medical equipment." "I know," I said. "I know everything." "Nora, I need you to do something for me. Can you get to the kitchen without being seen?" "Maybe. They're all in the study with the door closed." "Good. Listen carefully. On the counter next to the stove, there should be a small brown bottle. My mother tells everyone it's my herbal supplement drops. She puts them in my drink every time I come over. I need you to pour it out, every drop. Rinse the bottle twice and fill it with the vanilla extract from the baking shelf. It's the same color. She won't notice." Silence. "Nora, are you there?" "I'm scared, Livy. What if Dad catches me?" "He won't. He's in the study playing the concerned husband. He won't come out until I arrive." "Nora, you're the bravest person in that house. You have been surviving them longer than I have. I need 2 minutes of that bravery right now, and I promise you, after tonight, we are both free." Her breath was shaky. Then I heard the soft creak of a door opening. "I'm going." "Good girl. Delete this call from your history." I hung up, changed out of the soft dress I'd been wearing, and put on something structured, a blazer, slacks, shoes I could move in. I wasn't dressing for dinner. I was dressing for court. I drove through downtown Savannah as the sun bled out behind the oaks. Spanish moss hung from every branch like funeral lace, swaying in the evening breeze that carried the salt-rot smell of the marsh. The streets were quiet. Friday evening. Everyone tucked inside their beautiful homes, drinking wine, telling stories, normal families doing normal things. I was driving to my mother's house to prove she tried to destroy me. The house sat at the end of a live oak alley in Ardsley Park. A pale yellow colonial revival with black shutters and a wraparound porch that looked like it belonged on a postcard. My father had bought it the year I was born. He had carried me through that front door when I was 6 hours old. Now the woman who slept in his bed was using it as a stage set for my involuntary commitment. I parked on the street, not in the driveway. I needed an exit that couldn't be blocked. I checked my phone one last time. Grace had sent the files. All of them. I forwarded the entire package to Detective Morrison with a single line. I am entering the house now. If I do not text you by 8:15 p.m., come in. I also activated the voice recording app on my phone and slipped it into my blazer pocket, microphone facing up. My mother opened the door before I knocked. She was wearing a cream blouse and pearl earrings. Her smile was warm, wide, and completely manufactured. There she is, my beautiful girl. Come in, come in. You look thin. Are you eating? She pulled me into a hug. Her perfume was heavy, suffocating. I let myself be hugged. I let my body go slightly limp, the way she expected. The way a medicated, confused, obedient daughter would. I'm okay, Mom. Just tired. She led me inside. The house smelled like roasted chicken and fresh bread, but underneath it was something chemical. Antiseptic. Like a hospital hallway disguised with potpourri. Roger was in the living room, standing by the fireplace with a glass of bourbon, performing the role of patriarch. Beside him sat a man I had never met. Heavy, balding, a face like a clenched fist. He stood when I entered and extended his hand. Olivia, this is Dr. Ellison. He's an old friend of the family, Roger said, his voice too casual. He was in the area and we thought it would be nice to have him join us. I shook the doctor's hand. His grip was damp, assessing. He looked at me the way you'd look at a stray dog you were about to muzzle. Lovely to meet you, Olivia. Your mother has told me a great deal about you. How are you feeling this evening? Oh, I said, letting my eyes drift slightly, unfocusing them the way I had learned to fake over 4 years of being told I wasn't all there. I lost my keys again this morning. I keep forgetting things. My mother and Roger exchanged a look, a tiny pulse of satisfaction. Sit down, sweetheart. My mother guided me to the chair facing the window. Outside, the porch light illuminated the driveway. Behind the garage, just barely visible, I could see the nose of a white van. She sat the heavy crystal glass in front of me, water with lemon. Her signature move, healthy, hydrating, and laced with whatever she kept in that little brown bottle. I watched her walk to the sideboard where she kept the bottle, uncap it, and tilt 3 drops into my glass. Her back was angled just enough to block Roger's view. Muscle memory. She had done this so many times it was choreography. She brought the glass back and placed it in my hand. Drink, baby. You look dehydrated. Your skin is sallow. Are you sleeping? Not really, I murmured, staring at the liquid. I see things sometimes. At night. Shadows. I hear my dad's voice. It was a lie so perfectly calibrated to her script that I watched her whole face light up with barely concealed glee. She touched my cheek. Her fingers were cold. Always cold. Oh, honey, that's why we're here. We love you so much. We just want to help. Roger nodded gravely. Ellison leaned forward. The room was a closing trap. 3 predators surrounding a chair, waiting for the drug to hit. I lifted the glass, took a long sip, vanilla extract and lemon, slightly sweet, slightly bitter. To family, I said. To family, my mother echoed, barely containing herself. I drank the entire glass, set it down, folded my hands in my lap and waited. 2 minutes, 3, 4. My mother checked the clock above the mantel. This was the window. I was supposed to slur. My eyelids were supposed to droop. I was supposed to become pliant, confused, helpless. I stayed perfectly still, perfectly lucid, and watched her smile begin to curdle. Honey, how are you feeling? She reached for my wrist, pretending to check my pulse. You look a little flushed. I'm fine, Mom. Never better, actually. Something shifted in the room. The air pressure changed. Ellison glanced at Roger. Roger stared at my mother. Maybe she needs more time, Roger muttered. She doesn't need more time, I said, straightening in my chair. The drug isn't working because there is no drug. Nora poured it out 2 hours ago and replaced it with vanilla extract. My mother's face went through 5 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, shock, fury, calculation, and then, horribly, the mask snapping back into place. Olivia, sweetie, I don't know what you're talking about. You're confused again. Doctor. Ellison? I think she's having an episode. Ellison stood and reached into his jacket. I saw the glint of a syringe cap. I stood up faster. Sit down, Dr. Ellison. I pulled my phone from my blazer and placed it on the table, screen up. This conversation has been recorded from the moment I walked through that door. My financial advisor has copies of your intake forms, your payment records from Roger, and the email where you discuss sedation dosage for a patient you have never examined. If you touch me with that needle, you will lose your medical license, and you will be charged with assault. Ellison went white. The syringe hand dropped to his side. She's bluffing, my mother hissed. She's delusional. This is exactly what I warned you about. I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Inside was my independent psychiatric evaluation, my toxicology screen from that morning showing 0 substances in my system, and a notarized letter from a board-certified psychiatrist confirming I was fully competent and had never displayed symptoms consistent with any psychotic disorder. I also have this, I said, pulling out a second document. A lab analysis of the contents of the brown bottle you keep on the sideboard. The one you told me was an herbal supplement. It's lorazepam dissolved in a glycerin solution, a sedative. You've been drugging me for 4 years. My mother's composure cracked, not slowly, all at once, like a windshield taking a rock. You ungrateful little, she started. I'm not finished. I looked at Roger. He had backed against the fireplace, bourbon sloshing in his trembling hand. The conservatorship petition you filed last month? It triggered an automatic review clause my father built into the trust. His lawyer designed it specifically in case someone tried to declare me incompetent. The moment you filed, it flagged. Grace Whitfield was notified. That's how we found everything. Roger's face went gray. And because you abused the medical proxy my father entrusted to my mother, I continued, looking at her now. The trust's protection clause is activated. You are permanently removed as trustee, effective immediately. The estate transfers to my control tonight, not Tuesday. No, my mother whispered. No, that's not how it works. I have the authority. Your father gave me. Dad gave you responsibility, I said quietly. And you turned it into a weapon. The doorbell rang. Nora appeared at the top of the stairs. She was holding her phone, hands trembling, but her chin was up. She looked at me and nodded. I opened the front door. Detective Morrison stepped inside with 2 uniformed officers. Catherine Harris? Roger Harris? He looked at my mother, then my stepfather. I have warrants for your arrest, conspiracy to commit false imprisonment, fraud. Elder abuse statutes apply to the drugging. Dr. Ellison, there's a warrant for you as well. Medical fraud and conspiracy. My mother screamed. Not words, just sound. Raw, animal fury. She lunged toward me, and an officer caught her arm. You did this to me, she shrieked as they cuffed her. After everything I did for you, I raised you. I gave you everything. No, Mom, I said. Dad gave me everything. You tried to take it? Roger didn't resist. He stood with his hands at his sides, staring at the floor, and let them put the cuffs on like a man who had always known this moment was coming and had never had the spine to prevent it. He didn't look at Nora as they walked him out. He didn't look at anyone. Ellison tried to leave through the back door. The officers were faster. When the house was empty, when the sirens faded down the oak-lined street and the only sound was the cicadas screaming in the marsh heat, Nora came downstairs. She stood in the hallway, small and shaking, and looked at me with eyes that held 4 years of silence. Is it over? She asked. I crossed the room and held her. She cried. Not loudly, quietly. The way people cry when they've been holding it in so long, they've almost forgotten how. It's over, I said. And you were the bravest one tonight. 3 months later, the house in Ardsley Park was sold. I didn't want it. Too many rooms full of lies. My father's business is running again under management, I trust. The trust transferred cleanly. Nora lives with me now in a townhouse near Forsyth Park. She's finishing her senior year at a new school. She laughs more. So do I. My mother pled guilty to avoid a trial. She got 4 years, Roger got 3. Doctor. Ellison lost his license and is facing a separate malpractice suit from 2 other patients whose families have come forward since his arrest. I don't hate my mother. Hate takes energy I'd rather spend on healing. But I will never sit at her table again. I will never drink from a glass she hands me. And I will never again mistake control for love. My father built something beautiful and trusted the wrong person to protect it. But he also built a safety net. He hid tripwires in the fine print because some part of him, maybe the part that was already sick and watching his new wife a little too carefully, knew that money doesn't change people. It reveals them. Cutting off a toxic parent isn't abandonment, it's choosing to live. And for the first time in 4 years, I am actually alive. If you've ever been in a situation where someone you loved made you doubt your own sanity, I want you to know something. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are being lied to by someone who benefits from your confusion. Trust yourself. Get a second opinion. And if you can, get a Grace Whitfield, because the right person, believing you at the right moment, can save your life. It saved mine.